Hello everybody, my name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel and this is Dearly Departed episode 2. New series this season. Every year I cover the Championship, I make loads of friends, I enjoy following certain teams at the top of the league and up they go and disappear. And then they all comment me saying, well, bye-bye, we'll miss you. No, not this season, not at all. No, we're doing Dearly Departed. So, the teams that have gone up in the past 2 seasons since I've really been having a bash at doing this YouTube thing, I'm going to keep covering them. And there's 5 of them because Norwich managed to get themselves relegated back down. So these videos will cover Sheffield United, Aston Villa, who went up in 2018-19 and survived, and last season's promoted teams, Leeds United in first, West Brom in second, and Fulham through the playoffs. So we will still be doing shows, and this is number 2. We did number 1 looking at the fixture reveal for each of the teams and how the fixtures bunched, and today it's that lovely time. It's predictions time. Unfortunately, not being a Premier League vlogger, I'm not going to do a 1 to 20 here. I'm going to decide who finishes highest only out of our 5 dearly departed teams. I'm going to try and put them in order. Fear not, I will do my 1 to 24 for the Championship tomorrow. That is always fun in the comments, as you can imagine. So what we're going to do, we'll set the context. We'll look at what happened last season, have a little bit of a look at the recruitment. We'll put up my predictions, and then I did do a little poll on YouTube as well. We'll see what you guys thought as well. So let's start with the highest ranked of these teams from last season, which was Dem Blades, Sheffield United, up there in 9th position. Look, they lost their last 3 games there. Could have been as high as 8th, only 2 points off Arsenal. Brilliant stuff from Sheffield United. Obviously, those of us who covered the Championship knew exactly what was coming, but the Premier League wasn't ready, was there? Talk of innovative systems and 3 at the backs and centre-backs going round the outside, and it's like, we've been watching this for about the last 18 months. It's no surprise to us, and they did really, really well. The recruitment, I found the recruitment interesting because it felt a little bit to begin with like they were saying, look, if we bring in this type of player, as in, I don't know, Ollie McBurney or Luke Freeman, Ben Osborne, Jack Robinson, etc. If we do get relegated, we'll have an awesome team in the Championship and we'll go straight back up again. But we're going to stick with what I've got. A couple of little tweaks. At least Mousse was definitely an upgrade in a position. Get Dean Henderson back, and away they went. And in the top half of the table for pretty much most, if not all, of the season. So brilliant season last season for the Blades. Relying on a lot of familiar players there. Obviously Norwood and Fleck, the brilliant central midfield. Less of a number 10 ahead of them last season, wasn't it, with John Lundstrom added in. Dean Henderson, he will not be back, but that has been seen to. We'll look at that in the recruitment thing. Aaron Ramsdale coming in. And then look, all 3 of the centre-halves there, Egan Basham, O'Connell. Sander Berg came in January, didn't he, as the ante is upped recruitment-wise by the fantastic Chris Wilder, who at the moment we have no evidence that he's not just going to continue winning for the entire rest of his career, wherever he goes, wherever he ends up. He's just done brilliantly, hasn't he? And what a job at Sheffield United. So, things very rosy at Sheffield United. Obviously, their fans get a little bit prickly about the whole second season in the Premier League thing, especially after a promotion and a successful first season. I speak as an Ipswich fan, obviously the ultimate second season syndrome. Finished 5th and then relegated the next season after a promotion. I don't think they'll be quite as kamikaze as Ipswich were in their recruitment. However, it is still a thing. People do figure you out and you have to adjust to your new level. So we can't ignore it. Next up is Aston Villa. There they are, 17th position. They survived, look, by 1 point on the last day of the season with that draw at West Ham United. Up through the playoffs, kind of bust the Championship just by being too big, having a gigantic wage bill. Jack Grealish in midfield with John McGinn, Tammy Abraham borrowed, Tyrone Mings borrowed. They barged their way up there in the end. Maybe not quite as complete a team or as far down the road in their process as Leeds or Sheffield United above them when they went up, but they got there by any means necessary. They got there, and they have stayed there, largely due to the suspected number one player from last season, Jack Grealish. Outstanding player. Will he start the season as a Villa player? Away with England at the moment, Hourihane and McGinn, Mings, all the players I mentioned there indeed. And their manager, Dean Smith, not quite as highly rated as Chris Wilder, excuse me. However, he's done the job wherever he's been. At Walsall, he had them playing. At Brentford, he got them going. Didn't quite finish the job with either of those two teams. However, he did at Villa, and in 2/3 of a season, got them promoted and has kept them there. Still, some doubts because they've never really bossed anything just yet. You know, the promotion, well, they just about did it. It would have been interesting had they met Bielsa's Leeds in that final. And last season, yeah, they stayed up. They managed to do it. So some questions as to whether he can do it next season. But he certainly deserves the chance, doesn't he? Now, the promoted teams there are Leeds, and they did boss the Championship. Look, won it by 10 points, 12 points clear of automatic. They should have been up probably the previous season, but that mad collapse in the presence of a very good Norwich team and a very good Sheffield United team, plus an almighty psychological mess-up, mental breakdown playoff semi-final defeat to Derby. But they stayed down and they did the job in quite lovely fashion last season with the 93 points. Interesting that. Pablo Hernandez up at the top there. How many games does he start going forward? Probably not all of them. How many minutes does he play? Does he just start the big games? Can you rely on him? I was asking this question last season. Can you still rely on Pablo? Well, in the Championship, yes. Be interested to see what happens in the Premier League. We will look at the recruitment. Calvin Phillips in the England squad. Luke Ayling, can he make the step up? Ilan Meslier, a young goalkeeper who will likely get the chance. I think Kiko's still there. Look, he's down in the list there. Harrison has re-signed on loan. However, look at number 7. They did not manage to get Ben White in, but that has been remedied. We'll talk about that in the recruitment section. And there he is, the master, Bielsa, cult legend already. Statue planned at Leeds. What a privilege to have him in the Championship. I don't really need to say any more about Bielsa, do I? West Brom finished second. Obviously, same glimpse of the table there. Just managed, you can see, even the table tells us what I can anecdotally say. Leeds were head and shoulders above. A group of 3 teams and then much of a muchness below with Cardiff there, finishing up in 5th. West Brom, I think, getting up because of some good recruitment. And there you can see Matthias Pereira in on loan, great player. Diangana in on loan, great player. And then as you go down the list, Krissy came in January. Semi Ajayi, really good signing. And he's not on that list, but Romain Sawyers as well. A really good bit of recruitment. And a good manager in game, a savvy manager. I don't think we'd be talking about them being in the Premier League if it weren't for Slaven Bilic, who did a very fine job to do that in one season after Darren Moore and James Shan latterly failed the previous season to get the parachute funded team West Brom up. And playoff winners, there they are. Fulham, they could have overtaken West Brom on the last day. Maybe that would have been a bit unjust. A bit of a sense that Fulham didn't quite ever manage to get doing what Scott Parker wanted them to do. It seemed this real plan with the way they wanted to play and slowly and patiently out from the back and incorporate a front 3 equally. However, they didn't manage to get that moving perfectly. But they did have Alexandra Mitrovic up front, which was a very good bully boy tactic and bought Scott Parker some extra time. Some good recruitment there as well in terms of Harrison Reed and Michael Hector mid-season. We'll talk about Harrison Reed in just a jiffy. So there are your top 10 players indeed for Fulham. Obviously, Mitrovic at the top. Kearney, a bit of a quieter season. And Joe Bryan, who bossed the playoff final, can Knockhart and Cavaliero, who are 4th and 6th, step up there. Alfie Mawson won't. He's gone out to Bristol City on loan. And the very young, look, 39, Scott Parker. Lots and lots of questions over him last season. But again, he deserves the chance to go ahead and do this. We'll see how he gets on. There is the recruitment. Now, when we're talking about teams, we look at coaching, we look at pattern of play, and we look at recruitment, and then kind of the stability of the club. In terms of pattern of play, most of these teams are fairly sorted and fairly stable, especially 3 of them, because they've just been promoted, haven't they? So recruitment is a big deal. Sheffield United, well, Aaron Ramsdale in, but they did have Dean Henderson, so we're essentially replacing what we have. Max Lowe, will he challenge Ender Stevens? I don't know. Jaden Bogle, will he get ahead of George Baldock? Possibly in the future. That might be a slight upgrade. And Ethan Ampadu in the centre-back position there, around the likes of, Basham, Egan O'Connell. Well, looks like we're sticking roughly with what we've got, with a couple of tiny little tweaks, and the hope that people like Sander Berger are going to really step up and make a place in the team their own. So, very much just slight tweaks in the recruitment there. No one really going out. Luke Freeman on loan, I guess, is the biggest name, but he didn't manage to play his way into the team last season. In terms of Aston Villa's recruitment there, not a lot going on. Matty Cash comes in at right back. They tried Guibert, didn't they? Konza, who was a centre-half at right back. So Cash gets his chance. Only been a right back for 1 season in a team that was protected defensively at Forest. So that will be interesting. And a little bit of clearing out there in terms of free transfers. But not a lot happened yet. The elephant in the room, Grealish, will he stay or will they cash in big money? Will he want to go to a big club? There is the Leeds recruitment there. Rodrigo, the centre forward, 27 million quid, we think. Does he go straight ahead of Bamford? Bielsa loves Bamford, but you think a 27 million quid forward would. Helder Costa, well, that deal's been completed. Robin Koch, that is the interesting one, isn't it? Ben White probably would have cost twice as much as him. Koch is a German international. So, again, you've upgraded your forward position, but you're essentially replacing what you already had in terms of Ben White at the back. Gelhardt is a project, and Harrison essentially again replacing what you already had. Not much on the way out there. West Brom again replacing what you already had. Dean Garner and Pereira, both on loan, have both been brought in now, so that just makes them exactly the same as they were last season. And then Kipre, Button, well, will Kipre force himself in ahead of Higazi and Ajayi at centre-half? I don't know. It's another option. Will Button go ahead of Johnston? No, I wouldn't have thought so. Anyone going out? Lecco, will that make a big difference? Ferguson could have possibly done a job up there in the Championship as well. Fulham, again, are we replacing what we already had? Knockhart, yes, he was there on loan. Harrison Reed, he was there on loan. And we see this pattern now with the Championship, don't we? Whereby teams don't gamble like they used to with actual signings. And there's a lot of times, well, you got up, but you got up with some loan players that you now have to go and buy with your TV money. We're going to see loan deals with first refusals on purchase on promotion, aren't we? Like Norwich have just done with Ben Gibson. In fact, Lamina in on loan in central midfield. Anthony Robinson, good player. That might be an upgrade on Joe Bryan, despite his heroics in the playoff final. And a little bit of clearing out at the back. So, the question is, who finishes highest? We have to take into account what happened last season, who's in charge, the playing squad, the recruitment, etc. And, drum roll please, here is my view. So, let's work from the top downwards. I think Sheffield United, being they're just tweaking ever so slightly. Maybe Bogle finds his way in as the first choice right wing back in the end. Maybe Sander Berger steps up. Maybe it ends up being Moussa McBurney up front. Little tweaks. Ampadu, does he displace one of that back three? Who knows? Can they sign him full time? I think, though, enough stability, and they're coming from a 9th place finish, frankly, way ahead of all of these other teams. So I've got to have Sheffield United and Chris Wilder first. I'm going to go for Leeds to finish second, just purely because I said that criteria. Manager, well, Wilder has been sensational. So we'd have Wilder and Bielsa on a level in terms of their performance at their respective clubs. Obviously, Bielsa has that storied history and cult following. But judging them on their clubs, those two managers would be ahead of the other three, wouldn't they? In terms of players, they have invested, and I just think the pattern of play so beautifully defined at Leeds, and that sense that they're back where they belong now, and that huge mental fan base. I can just see them. I'm not saying where all these teams will finish in the table, but I can see them being the second of the 5. Then I've got Aston Villa, and this is very, very much guided by intangibles. I think the fact they've been up for a season helps a lot. I think they've got more quality, certainly, than those other 2 players. But the 2 intangibles are, will Jack Grealish be there at the end of the season? And will Dean Smith be there at the end of the season? You just get this hankering sense that there is a scenario where Grealish goes out and they're struggling and it's January and they might replace Smith unless they're, 15th and a little way clear. So there's just a couple of intangibles that I don't see a star player going out of Leeds. I don't see a Calvin Phillips going out of Leeds or a Pablo Hernandez going out of Leeds. I do see a Grealish which possibly could lead to a Smith going out of Villa. Could be wrong, but hey, that's what the comments are for. Get involved in there. Fulham. Now, I'm not sure about these 2. I just feel, and I'll kind of do them together, I feel West Brom do have a superior manager in the dugout, Bilic over Parker. I just feel that Fulham are almost better suited to Premier League football than they were to Championship football. With players like Knockout, Cavaliero, Mitrovic, Kearney, you feel there's already a bit of Premier League quality better suited there. And maybe if Fulham had Bilic, they'd have played a little bit differently last season and probably scored more points and got up in second. But I feel now that there's more an upside in the Premier League for Fulham to finish higher than West Brom. I don't know. I just have it's a little bit of a gut feeling. I know I normally go on analytics and boring reasons like that. I just think there's a lot of West Brom players that have never kind of been at the top. People like Ajayi and Sawyers. They finished the season with Townsend and O'Shea as their fullbacks. The keeper, Johnston, hasn't. I suppose Livermore has. But then Pereira, good player. Diangana, good player. Unproven. And then people like Phillips, well... Can they do it? And then up top, who scores the goals? They didn't have a big goal scorer last season, did they? Between Austin, Robson, Kanu and Zohore, they managed to do it. I suspect we might see Zohore end up back with Warnock on loan at Borough or something of that nature. So that is what I'm going with. Sheffield United, then Leeds, then Villa, then Fulham, and then West Brom. Get your thoughts in the comments, but please put your working out. You can't just say, I don't know, I'm a Villa fan, I think they'll be the highest. Give me your working out and I'll happily read them. But if there's no reasoning, then it just feels like throwing it up in the air, doesn't it? That was the YouTube poll, which doesn't chime with what I was saying. They've got it Sheffield United, then Leeds, then Villa, which does chime with what I'm saying. And then I've got Fulham and West Brom the other way round. So a little bit of a disagreement in general terms there. Let me know what you think in the comments. That was Dearly Departed episode 2. Who will finish highest? You can please support the channel by interacting on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up button. It's probably better if I put my thumb over there. Get involved in the comments. Let's go for reasoned comments. Let's go for not being a jerk in the comments and screaming and shouting like people do on YouTube. And I'll read them all, I promise, and we can get a good discourse going on here. Please subscribe if you remember watching me when one of these teams was in the Championship. Well, is worth hitting that subscribe button. We will do a preview video and a review video every week for Dearly Departed. And join our Fantasy League, and you can pick players from any of those 5 teams because it is Premier League. T5QBR0. We're working on getting a prize, and there'll be a weekly video on that as well. If you don't want to look at my face and my lovely flowing hair, you can listen to this on a podcast and not watch at all. And I'm trying to make a go of this, by God. Trying to make some money out of it. COVID took my job. They took our jobs. So I've got some hopeful income streams alongside my gigging work I do as a musician. And wouldn't that be a fine thing? Playing some gigs and talking about football for a living. Help me out. I'm sure you're a fellow football supporter. Help me out with this. You can do so by going amazon.co.uk/shop/the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. I've made some lists. Some of them are fun, some of them are a bit silly. My shirts and my hair products are on there. All the equipment that goes into this and my favourite football books are on there. Go and buy one, get a bit of a kickback. You can subscribe via Patreon for $3. You essentially get to support me, get your name in the description. For $5 per month, you get some Patreon-only content, Q&A and vlogs. And you can sponsor the channel, which is the highest Patreon tier, which parlays into that last slide there. You can be a fan sponsor of a series. You could be the fan sponsor of Dearly Departed. Wouldn't that be great? Or if you run a small business and you feel like you can contribute a little bit more, you can sponsor the entire channel and get your video plugged. It was 500,000 views, nearly. Disclaimer, nearly, over the past 3 months. So well worth doing that. With that being said, this has been Who Finished Highest in the Dearly Departed. Get your comments in and I will see you on the next video, which for Dearly Departed will be our first preview show, which will air on Friday. Get involved. Over and out.